And we're ready to rock. You guys see the video on Zoom? All right. Awesome. All right, guys, welcome to our morning market update it's Monday, March 11th of 2019. This is George Trade Pro Academy, joined by my colleague here, Azalea. She's the only one that made it in this morning. Say hello. Azalea joins the team. She's brand new at Trade Pro Academy. She's new, but it's been a friend for a long time. She's been trading and listening to the webinars, and now she joins the team. So I'm really excited to have her on board. You guys will be seeing and hearing from her. She's a very strategic thinker and a great addition to the team. She elevates us and helps us push for more. So today's morning market update, we're going to talk about a few things, primarily Boeing. Boeing shares are down huge, and then I'll give you an update as to some of the other things as well. But first and foremost, let's start with the morning market fun fact. And this isn't really a super fun fact. It's more of a market fact. And here's what it is. About $10.1 billion flowed out of equity funds during the week that ended last Friday, which is bringing the total outflows up to $60 billion for 2019 so far. So when you look at this tremendous rally that we've seen, it's happened on a lack of institutional money. So you're wondering who's buying it then? It's mostly retail traders, short sellers getting stopped out, which are buyers, and also stock buybacks from companies. But really, there's a net outflow of money, which means that institutional funds are selling their positions and cashing out on a large extent, bring it to $60 billion, which is the worst start to a year for net global equity inflows since 2008. So that's a really interesting statistic that sort of catches people off guard when they find out that we're going up on an exodus of capital from the institutional money aspect. Another thing we're following with this morning here is Boeing shares. They're down 10% pre-market, huge sell-off after China's aviation regulatory body grounded the full fleet of 737 MAX planes. Their MAX 8 is the model specs on it. They're all now grounded this morning after a second crash happened. The prior one happened in Indonesia 5 months back, and then one happened this weekend where all lives on board were lost, and it's very tragic. So if you or your family is affected out there, our condolences go out to you, sending you some positive vibes. Really, it's a sad event. I was saddened when I read it. Here's what happened. It was an Ethiopia air crash, and the prior crash to that in Indonesia, it was a pitch down scenario. So the pilots reported that while they're on takeoff, the first little bit and while you're gaining altitude is super important in an airplane, but on takeoff on autopilot, the nose started to pitch down automatically. So they had to manually exit that pitch down situation to get out of it. And that was reported, but there was an investigation. It was isolated to that plane. Now it's the second such crash where the same thing is reported. Look at the altitude readings. The plane went up and down, severely fluctuating in its altitude before crashing. And it seems that it happened at the exact same sequence or stage of the flight. China says those two things are enough to cause concern, shut down operations, and launch an investigation. So Boeing engineers have flown over on the weekend to investigate this crash. The 737 MAX 8 aircraft is a short haul but very fuel efficient in improvement to the 737, the traditional plane. So this plane, the 737, has been in service for decades. It's just this MAX 8 aircraft that was optimized to be lighter, to save fuel, and to be more cost efficient, which made it super popular in airlines. They purchase hundreds of these. And if we enter a scenario where the investigation turns up any kind of mechanical issues and there's a halt worldwide on this airplane, there's going to be a lot of lost revenue from airlines, a lot of disturbances in the flight schedules. And Boeing itself as a company is a massive constituent of the Dow Jones. So as we look this morning at our charts, you'll notice that here on the top left, I don't know if you guys could see it on the screen, but you'll notice the yellow line, it's a Dow, and it's significantly weaker than any other market. So for this morning and for today, and as this investigation is going on, the Dow is going to be weaker than other markets because Boeing is single-handedly pulling it down. It's a massive constituent of the Dow Jones. All right, so that's what we're kind of looking at. We're going to be keeping an eye out on this. We'll be watching Boeing stocks pretty much for all of the day as a correlation market as well, or the Boeing stock. But other than that, all 189 people on board lost their lives over the weekend. So it's very sad. And I send all of you guys positive vibes. especially if you have a family member involved in this. Let's switch gears here a little bit to the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell last night did a 60 minutes interview, which very few Federal Reserve chairmen and chairwomen do interviews for 60 minutes. This is Jerome Powell's first. Alan Greenspan did one. Ben Bernanke did two. And what he said during the 60 minutes interview is nothing new, but there were a few points of interest rather that he did mention. He said that the rates were currently in a roughly neutral situation, meaning that they don't think that they're too low or too high, that they have to increase them or decrease them. They're neutral, right where they should be, and accommodative enough for the current economic situation. Also, he said that when he was asked flat out, he said, could Donald Trump fire you? He said that, no, the law is clear that I have a 4-year term and I fully intend to serve it. Found that interesting, suggesting that, there is some consideration of that, but he just doesn't buy into that at all. Jerome Powell is here to stay for the full 4-year term. He did say that rates are pretty much roughly neutral, and it was a non-event, but an interesting interview nonetheless. All right, so markets overall in Asia, Japan's up 0.5%, Hong Kong's up 1%, China's up 2%, India's up 1%. Gains across the Asian markets. There's some hopes of stimulus there in China that are pushing equities up. In Europe at midday, London's up 0.8%, Paris up 0.3%, Frankfurt's also up 0.3%. Crude oil this morning is up 1 percentage point to 56.63, and the current quote is probably a little bit higher, 56.66. So 3 cents higher. That's on news. Comments from Saudi oil minister Khalid Al-Falih, and he said that the end to OPEC's supply cuts was unlikely before June. So they've agreed to this supply cut scenario, and we're basically being told that it's not going to end until the June meeting. And some traders are expecting it could have an early end in this April meeting, but he said no chance. Now, we're all expecting a Donald Trump tweet based on this because Donald Trump wants lower oil price, and this goes against that narrative. This will support prices higher. As you can see, oil's already up 1%. So that's why it's rallying a little bit here overnight to start the week. Gold's flat. Bitcoin's down almost 1%. This morning, we saw the retail sales figure come out. January advanced retail sales were 0.2% versus 0.0 expected. Retail sales minus autos were 0.9 versus 0.3% expected. So we saw a little bit of a beat in the headline number, but if you dig deeper, it gets worse. Prior advanced retail sales month over month revised lower. Ex-auto revised lower. Ex-auto and gasoline revised lower. So all the past month reports were revised lower, and the current month is a slight beat. So this report on retail sales is not phenomenal. It just is. It isn't good. It isn't bad. It just is, like we all are. And so for today's market, the Mondays after non-farm payrolls tend to be a little bit slower, more consolidative formations, less volume, less volatility. Expect that. This morning, we're going to start out with trading with the 3 rules for reduced volatility, less contract size, less trading activity, take profits quicker. We'll start that way. And if we get a little bit more activity, we're obviously going to adjust and take advantage of it. But start slower, start more patient today, and it'll serve you very well because Mondays after non-farm payrolls have a real sneaky way of being quiet. We have a busy week of economic news ahead. Friday, we have expiration of futures contracts. We have the quad witch, and that's going to cause some volatility. And also, that means that today we're switching forward to, especially the futures traders, we're switching forward to the June contract, the M. So we're going to be trading ESM, which is S&P June contract, Dow, NASDAQ, everything rolls over to the M except for crude oil. All right, that's what we got. We'll review the news events for the rest of the week tomorrow, but it's going to be a busy economic week. Today, I'm looking to sell some rallies early on, and I think we're going to find some support down near these 2746 levels on the S&P 500. So I'm going to sell rallies down in that level. That should hold for the day. We could find our way higher throughout. But be patient, be calm, and just remember, we're doing a job at the end of the day, and not all days are the same in this job. And if anyone's traded for any amount of time, you'll know that's true. And our job is to show up, recognize the type of day it is, and to adjust for it. Not to come in with an expectation and hope that we get it, but come in with no expectation and take something out of the market and put it in our pocket when there is an opportunity. All right, stay patient. watch the first 5-10 minutes. It's the first trading day of the week, and you'll do well. You'll spot the trend and be able to get on board. All right, you guys take care. Thank you for tuning in the morning market update. I'm going to go ahead and open up the trading room now, and we're going to talk more about some levels for the S&P 500, and I'll put it over to Steven. He'll talk about oil, and we'll get rolling with the day. I'm super excited. See you guys later. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. All right, trade pros, let me